Hey, what's going on guys, Adam 3K3 here. So Capcom just unveiled the Resident Evil 7 PC system requirements and I'm shocked that they are not what I expected. And in a good way. I expected them to be all times high since a lot of PC games are coming with high system requirements. Most of the time they are not needed, but for some reason they are pushing them up on paper. So let's look at those system requirements together. Obviously we'll be looking at the minimum first. So let's start with the OS, the operating system. Of course it's Windows 7, 8, 8.1 and 10. And as always it's 64-bit. Rarely if ever do you see a new PC game that's 32-bit supported. Now the processor is Intel Core i5 4460 2.70 GHz or equivalent AMD FX 6300. So not that high. The i5 these days is the bare minimum, and with 2.70 GHz it's nothing to write home about. Now the minimum requirement for the RAM is 8 GB, which is again standard since almost all games require 8 GB as minimum. Now for GPU is Nvidia GeForce 760 or equivalent AMD Radeon R70 260 DirectX 11. As a note, if you want to have a better performance on older system, you obviously have to lower the settings to get that. Lowering the resolution will help as well. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the recommended ones. The OS remains the same, 7, 8, 8.1 and 10, 64-bit of course. The processor is Jump i7 3770 3.4 GHz, which is top of the line or AMD equivalent. The interesting thing is there is no specific CPU mentioned for the AMD, assuming that the current top of the line AMD processor cannot handle this game or high, so they just wrote AMD or better to wait for the next generation of Zen processors. The memory remains at 8 GB on recommended settings, which is very strange since almost all games require 16 GB or even 32, and the GPU is GTX 960 or AMD Radeon R9 280X, which is very low since you can get the GTX 960 for around $270 or $300 for the 4GB model. With those recommended settings you'll be able to game at 1080p 60 frames. So what do I think about the system requirements overall? They're amazing. I expected a lot higher specs since this is a next-gen Resident Evil game. And this could mean two things. Either the game is highly optimized, which I think is the case since a lot of recent Resident Evil games are optimized on the PC, so I'm not surprised that Capcom will optimize this game once again. The second scenario is that the game's graphics sucks, hence the low specs. But like I said, that's unlikely considering Capcom is pushing the return of the Resident Evil with this game. Now with the specs out of the way, let's talk about the game itself. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, or I should say I'm a huge Resident Evil old school fan. I own the first parts on both the PC and consoles, even the new Resident Evil 4, 5 and 6, I have them on both the PC and Xbox 360 and soon the Xbox One. I have the remakes, so I played them all. But after Resident Evil Code Veronica, the hype kind of died, and for some reason I never took Resident Evil seriously until yesterday. I decided to look at it and see what the hype is all about. I was gonna buy the game regardless, but I wasn't hyped for it. So once the system requirements came out, I said let's look at the trailer itself. And I noticed a few things about it. First, the game is played in the first person view, as the original was intended but later changed. Yes, the first Resident Evil game on PS1 was supposed to be a first-person shooter but was later changed to the third one. Now Capcom are promising that this is the return to the survivor Resident Evil, the original feel, but in my view the game looks nothing like it so far. The game looks like a mixture between The Evil Within and Wrong Turn movie put into a blender, and the end result is this. Yes, the game is creepy and whatnot, but that's nothing like the old school Resident Evil feel. I may be wrong. Once I actually experience the game, once it's out in 4 months, I will change my mind, but so far it looks creepy, it looks good, but it's nothing like the Resident Evil that we used to know and love. Anyway, that was my take on the game. Let me know what you think in the comment section. What do you think about the system requirements? What do you think about the overall game itself? Like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more upcoming content. I'm Adam 3K3 and I'll talk to you in my next video.